our next speaker is Sky, who runs the account FemMeow. Sky will be sharing their experiences as a bisexual and demisexual polyamorous person, with a focus on, experiences on the asexual spectrum in the polyamorous community. So I'm going to unmute and start your video. There we go. Hello, and I will be spotlighting you now when you're ready.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here, Leanne. It's really an honor. So I think that we can all agree that polyamory and non-monogamy has very much been hypersexualized in societal discourse as well as in the media. And because of this, an asexual polyamorous person can seem like an oxymoron. I hear it all the time. Why would you be polyamorous if you are asexual? But we do exist. I identify as demisexual and gray asexual, which means I need an emotional connection with someone before I experience sexual attraction. And it is very rare for me to experience sexual attraction to folks. So I think most of us are familiar with the concepts of compulsory monogamy and compulsory heterosexuality, but something that is less often talked about is compulsory sexuality. And writer Sharonda J. Brown, author of Compulsory Sexuality, defines the topic as, quote, the societal belief that sexuality is something that we are obligated to participate in, that everyone desires sex, and that it is normal and healthy and required to have sex. Sharonda argues that this belief, quote, creates sexual shame for people who don't have that desire or don't have a desire that aligns with what society considers to be a normal and healthy amount of sex, end quote. It is rooted in an idea of sexuality, which proposes that people should be having sex the right way, usually meaning penis and vagina sex between straight men and women. So we have compulsory monogamy, heterosexuality, and sexuality working together as this kind of violent triangle that is strangling so many of us in our relationships. After a couple of years in my first adult relationship, I had this moment of panic because I realized I wasn't sexually attracted to my partner, but I still had very strong feelings for my partner romantically. And this kind of broke something in my mind because we are all fed what I call this kind of Disney narrative of, you know, you fall in love with someone, you have sex with somebody, you live happily ever after, and you only love that one person. So how could I love someone and not want to have sex with them? I also really struggled with feeling like a failure because, again, toxic monogamy culture teaches us that we need to be everything to our partners all the time, that we need to be compatible with them on every single level. So in my mind, if I was not sexually compatible with my partner, what did that mean as far as my worth as a person, as a partner? And what did that mean for our relationship? Was the entire relationship invalid? Was it a waste? Should I just walk away from everything because we weren't sexually compatible? Ultimately, I realized how irrational that all or nothing thinking was. That was quite a struggle and a journey for me, but I'm glad that I got to that point. And I realized how putting that pressure on myself to be everything to my partner all the time had led me to having sex when I didn't want to and doing things sexually that I didn't want to do, and how that wasn't fair to myself or my partner, and how it had created a lot of resentment on my end that then had to be worked through with my partner. But my journey into non-monogamy really originated from my desire to just no longer feel forced and obligated to fulfill all my partner's sexual needs. This whole like relationship anarchy person that you see now, where it's like, we don't own each other's bodies and everybody should be able to love freely, like that did not really come until later on. I think that originally my desire to be non-monogamous came, I think, from a selfish place that I just wanted that pressure off of me. And again, it took me a long time to get to that point because I had to work through accepting that A, I was not going to be able to meet all of my partner's needs, but specifically their sexual needs. B, this did not make me a failure and mean our entire relationship was null and void. And C, I could still love someone deeply without having sex with them. and D, that my partner should be able to get their sexual needs met by other people if they desire to do so. So that leads me into another topic that I want to talk about, which is the concept of equality and equity. And this is something that all polyamorous people, but I think specifically people in asexual, allosexual is just somebody who is not asexual. So asexual, allosexual relationships or monogamous polyamorous relationships really need to understand the difference between equality and equity and realize that we are striving for equity and not equality, because our relationships are probably never going to look equal. And if we're being real, like, we probably don't want that. Equity means everyone is provided with resources specific to their needs, whereas equality means everyone is treated the exact same way, regardless of a person's needs or individual differences. So to the outside world, I think most of my relationships look very lopsided. I do tend to date people who are very sexual and they will have many partners, and I usually only have one partner, maybe two. And I'm very content with that. But I remember early on in my polyamory journey, people would say things like, oh, well, that's not fair that he has so many more partners than you, and that's not right. And I did kind of let that get to me. And I thought, like, maybe this isn't fair. Maybe I am being taken advantage of. And there was also an element of ego in that, and being concerned with how I was being perceived. And I think it's easy to fall into this competitiveness for equality, even when you are aware of it and prepared for it. Like, I remember my partner was going out with somebody, and then I just felt this urge to go find another partner because I felt left out and unequal, when really I was quite content and I had all my needs met. And I was just doing it out of this, like, obligation rather than a genuine desire to form another partnership with someone. So again, remembering that we are striving for equity and not equality, and that your relationships will almost never look equal. And we probably don't really want that in the end. Finally, I want to leave you with something that I think allosexual people can learn from asexual people. And I will be paraphrasing Dr. Kim Tallbear, who is an Indigenous polyamorous writer and scholar. And that is that sex is just one form of intimacy and one form of relating. It is not the pinnacle of relating. It is not the most intimate way we can relate to one another. Maybe it is for some people, but definitely not for all. And when we take sex off of that pedestal, as Dr. Tallbear says, when we de-fetishize sex and place it on the table with all of the other ways we can relate to one another, it becomes just another resource that we can and should be sharing with as many people as is appropriate and consenting. So when people ask me, why be polyamorous when you are asexual, I respond with, there are so many other ways that I want to relate with people in my life outside of our current and narrow understanding of sex. And I am really grateful for all of my allosexual and megasexual partners and friends for showing me that there are myriad ways to experience attraction and love and intimacy and to relate to one another, and there is no one right way to relate to each other.